Hey, this is Joe from Gojira, and you're watching Overdrive.ie.
Welcome back to Overdrive, guys. I am very pleased to be speaking today to the one and only Kat Von D. How are you?
Hey, how are you?
Very, very well, very well. Yeah, listen, you are on your way over to this part of the world this coming summer, to do some live shows across the UK and Europe. And I figured the best place to start would be, let's just go from, this is obviously your sophomore album, My
Yeah.
Side of the Mountain, which was released last September. This, of course, follows your debut that came out in 2021. And my question is, between, because you do so much, between the first album and this album, were you always writing in between, or did you kind of leave it alone and just do a kind of mental, right, I'm going to write the next album type of thing?
I actually like to write relatively strict, like in a strict manner. So when I'm writing an album, I will schedule the time. So, and I do like to work with my favorite songwriters that I like to work with, and so it's a joint effort. So I definitely have my own ideas that come up at 2 in the morning, and I can write down things. But when it comes to actually songwriting and producing, I schedule it like a 9 to 5.
Wow.
I think that's the only way to be productive in all aspects of my life, because as you know, I don't only do music, so it's important to be able to balance and then just have that uninterrupted time. I think when I was younger and very single, I think it was easy to just work whenever I want, and kind of sprinkle in sessions here and there. And now it's like I like to be productive. I like to have deadlines. I just operate best with structure, and I think most people do, even though they might not admit it.
Do you work kind of better under a sort of a deadline or stress? Not so much stress, but like under a deadline. Does it
Yeah.
make you more productive? Yeah.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, we live a life by prioritizing things in our life, and some people prioritize sitting around and scrolling, and which is fine if that's what you want to do, and so
Yeah.
that's some people's job as well. So, and some people prioritize, their time and manage it in different ways. So,
Mhm.
I think for me, I have to have a pretty strict setting in order for me to get things done. If not, I'll end up prioritizing something else. So.
As we mentioned at the start there, you're embarking on this UK European tour, and you're coming through Ireland as well, which is very exciting. I just want to check with you. Have you toured? I know you've been over here for various different things in
Yeah.
the past, but have you actually done an extensive tour like this performing music, or is this?
No, this is going to be my first time,
Wow.
not just Europe, but obviously Ireland. I haven't been in Ireland for maybe a decade. So
Yeah.
the last time I was there was when my makeup line was being launched, and since then I've sold my makeup line. I don't have anything to do with it, but I remember very clearly like the meet and greet that I had there, because it was just the people were just so cool. I don't know how else to describe it. Like there's just a certain edge to
Mm.
Dublin in particular that I really connected
Yeah.
with my fans and followers there.
So, like the anticipation of doing this, obviously for the first time, and it's kind of like the idea of, right, I'm getting in a tour bus, I'm going to do
Yeah.
this. I mean, are you excited? Is there any, anticipation about it? Are you
Yeah,
a bit
I think
nervous?
there's a little bit of nervousness. I always
Yeah,
want to do a great job, and I think especially when you're switching lanes in your career, it's like, and I've done that before in the past, but I do have to prove myself a bit, and this music medium for me is very serious. Like I'm very committed to it, and I love it. Out of all of the mediums that I've ever done, out of tattooing, painting, drawing, all that stuff, designing, like music is the one that means the most to me, and it's the one I have to work the hardest for. So yeah, there is a little bit of nervousness, but more than anything, I'm just excited. I'm excited to be back overseas, and I think there's a joy that comes with writing music, but there's an even bigger joy when you're able to sing it out loud to somebody, and performing live is probably one of my favorite things to do. So it's very exciting.
You've obviously had so many different other avenues in your life. I mean, such an extremely busy person. Like there's different sort of emotional attachments to things like, you know, writing book and building up your business and then your tattooing and now the music. Is there anything that you like when you compare music? I don't know if I'm phrasing this right. If you compare the intimacy of writing and performing music as opposed to the other things, is this something that stands above the other things for you? It's more kind of special in a way?
Yeah, most definitely. And I hate to compare, but I think, for example, when I was tattooing, I think tattooing has a lot of emotional benefits. I love connecting with people one-on-one, and I think music is similar in that sense, but it just casts a wider net. And I think being able to connect with a room full of people versus just one person is there's an intensity to that I love.
Yeah.
We just wrapped up our US tour earlier this year, and it was, I don't know, I'm just always in awe and in a state of gratitude, because I'm like, wow, these people are like singing along with me, and it just means the world to me. Like, I feel like
goosebumps.
Yeah, you know,
it's just
the coolest, because when I was growing up, like, I mean, till this day, music is such a huge part of my life, and I think that when you're able to connect with somebody, a stranger especially, like over lyrics, it's such a bonding thing, like I'll listen to like some obscure band, and then if I find somebody else who knows that band and likes this one album that no one else knows, I'm like, oh, we're best friends now.
Yeah. Connection there. Which, one of the things, I have to bring this up because I am an absolutely huge Gunship fan, have been
cool.
since day one. Just obsessed with that first album, and then
yeah, me too.
Like, oh man, when I heard that remix, I was like, I mean, I'm just, the fit was so unbelievably perfect with your voice and everything like that, and what the guy did.
Thank you.
And I wanted to ask you, what are the possibilities of possibly doing something with Gunship again in the future, or is it open? Is there an open door there?
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. I loved working with them, and actually, Dan Hay is I consider him a close friend now at this point. He actually mixed my first album, and so I feel like he's such a huge part of my musical career. And I'm like you, I met them because I was their fan, and I remember like posting a video and using that song "The Mountain" on it, and I just never nostalgic aside, there's something so romantic, and it just strikes to my core, but I celebrate all their albums, but yeah, I would love to do more stuff with them for sure.
Reference to, I mean, you've collaborated with loads of different people. Like, do you have kind of in the back of your mind names of people that you'd love to, like when you're writing, say, oh my God, I'd love to do something with them? I'm sure you do.
Yeah.
Is there anyone that you can tell me?
And I've said this before in other interviews, but like I'm a huge fan of Perturbator, and I would love to eventually do something with him if he ever wanted to. I think that would be really fun. But I think like a lot of the bands that I want to collaborate are like pretty obscure and small, so I don't know if they would want to.
Like, I'm super nostalgic about the 80s. What is it about that era? I know you love synthwave and dark synth and electro pop and stuff like that, but is there something particular about that era that really just hits you? Like
when I first announced that I was making music, I think a lot of my fans assumed that I would be making metal, just because I love metal and I've been in that world for so long. And I still listen to metal, I still love it, but my heart has always resided within the 80s. I think like post-punk, like I love The Cure, Depeche Mode, Susie and the Banshees, that kind of stuff, although I don't think we sound like them. But I feel like those elements of electronic married with it's like technology and a human fingerprint. And I think that that's something it speaks to us, because it's like the best of both worlds. And so I've always described our music in that sense, that like, we're trying to put the soul into the robot. And I think, I think that's that's fun, you know. And I like all I guess the spectrum of electronic music. You know, I don't hate on much of it, but I do like the human aspect of analog synthesizers, and that's what we create all of our sound design on synths. You know, don't really use like pre-programmed stuff for the most part. You know, we like to design things and make things feel new, even though it feels old in that sense.
Yeah, no, I totally understand. I totally get you. I mean, I've a lot of similar tastes in music as you.
Yeah.
To say everyone.
But you know, I'm always curious about that too. I'm like, how is it that I've stopped in the ¡80s? Like I just, and since I was a kid, like I just, something about that era, you know?
It's awesome, that's why.
Oh yeah, of course, but it's just interesting that like, you know, there's not like another era like that.
Yeah, it kind of was the birth of so many different fantastic fashion and music, art, literature, everything came from it. But yeah, listen, I could talk to you for hours and hours about all this stuff. Listen, Kat, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to speak to us here. And yeah, we're just so looking forward to you coming over here and bringing the show here.
Me too.
Obviously across the UK and Europe as well. And best of luck with everything. And we look forward to everything that you have coming up.
Thank you.